Welcome back to my 80% tutorial series. We're now on the 5th mission, Abyss 2. Luckily, this is another easy level to learn, even though it's roughly 6 minutes long. Why is that? It's because it's 90% auto-scroller. Woo! But yeah, this level is mostly casual movement with some small stuff at the end that actually matters. So let's get into it. Out of the fade-in, we're going to wall jump off this crate and use the platform velocity to essentially just make our way along the intended route. This is a good place to practice your wall kicks, but don't feel pressured to go fast here, since it won't save any time. The only thing that's going to lose you time is dying, since that rewinds the speed of the level. Eventually you should come along this pipe and you can fall down to the next area. Then you just need to jump across the gap here and fall down one more time. On this walkway, there will be 3 grunts. You want to kill the last one and replace your secondary gun with the Spitfire he drops. So at this point, you should have the Eva and the Spitfire as your guns. Make your way to one of these moving platforms and wait for it to be pulled close enough before jumping off. Navigate along this long platform and come up to this grinder track. You can dodge around it by grabbing this right wall, then make your way across. And this brings us into Toldspice Route. This is a route that skips a majority of the intended route and brings us to the last area before we're forced to ride the assembly line for the rest of the level. So the route is to climb up these walls on the right and jump across to this dark section of rocks next to the bounds of the level. Then we're just going to slide up along this path of rocks until this upcoming gap. You should be able to see the gap because the void color is different from the rocks. If you come right to the edge, there will be a set of rocks above which you can jump up to wall run across. Traditionally, people also like to mention there are some small white marks on the first rock here, which can help you orient yourself. However, they are really hard to see without cranking your brightness, especially through a video like this. But yeah, wall run the rocks above and jump across to this next rock sticking out. Then you can transition into jumping between these stone walls, which are a lot easier to make out. And just a couple more jumps and wall rungs along this right side will take you to the final area before we need to ride the assembly line. At this point, we're really just waiting for the assembly line to catch up with us. However, there are a lot of annoying enemies that also occupy this last platform with us, so it's best to take them out. You can just improvise this fight since speed doesn't matter here, but it's pretty standard to do the same strat every time to make it more manageable. You're gonna shoot this shield guy and melee the turret, then drop down to this lower area. Pull out your Spitfire and shoot the ticks as they start pouring in, as well as the stalkers. You also have your cloak here in case you get overwhelmed. Once all those enemies are dead, you can jump back up and finish off the rest with the Eva. Then it's just a long wait as we wait for the assembly line to catch up. I will note, since we're waiting here anyway, there is a backup Eva on this weapon rack over here that you can grab if you lost it earlier in the run. Once the assembly line arrives though, we're gonna hop on but also set up for an upcoming trick called Dome Launch. This is a trick where we inherit platform velocity from the assembly line to launch ourselves up to this high up catwalk, which progresses the level faster. This requires us to stand in a specific spot on the assembly line to get launched properly. The lineup I use for this is to pull out the Eva for its crosshair and line it up so the bottom part of the crosshair sits just above the black line. Then I move left until the left side of the crosshair is flush with the side of that same black line. Now you just need to stay still and wait for the assembly line to get to this last room. As the piece we're standing on starts rotating, look at this wall and align the left side of the crosshair between these 6 dots. Then the assembly line is going to move left, then swing back to the right. When the right side of the crosshair touches this black line on the wall, we're going to press forward, left, and jump all at the same time. If done right, this will give you enough platform velocity to double jump all the way up to this catwalk. Some additional things you want to keep in mind here too: make sure you dodge the railing because that will knock you down. It's also good to hold crouch as you crash into the wall because that will launch you up. Now let's talk about backups. Going both early and late revolve heavily around this upper platform that comes rolling in right as you're launching up. If you went early, you'll want to double jump late, right before you hit the wall and crouch. There's a good chance this will shoot you up, either bringing you straight to the catwalk, or it will give you enough height to climb on top of this platform. Then you can jump up from there. You need to be very careful though, because it's easy to get crushed by the same platform as it's slotting into place. If you don't get much height after the double jump, you'll have to go to the left and climb up this grassy wall by alternating between each side of the corner here. If you go too late, your goal is going to be to get hit by the platform and launch to that same spot in the corner. Again, you'll want to watch out for getting crushed by the platform if you land on this little blue joint sticking out. Just slide out to escape. And then it's just a matter of climbing up the corner again. Now that we've hit the trigger up here, the game will now start to assemble the dome fight, which is a several minute long fight. Fortunately, we can skip it pretty easily. This is called dome skip, unsurprisingly. To do the skip, we're going to navigate over to this piece of metal sticking out of the wall and ride this platform up to the top as it's being assembled. When you're close enough to the top, you can jump toward this corner of the wall panel and crouch, then phase through it to get out of bounds. It is straight up just missing collision, which is very convenient for us. We're then going to navigate to the other corner of the dome in preparation for the skip. The way this segment works is the game teleports you to a copy of the dome just before the fight starts, so we can't actually end the level until that happens. So we're just going to wait around in the meantime. But we get to this corner and you want to identify this very thin dark wall and stand on it. It's very important that you're not standing on the collision below it, because this will cause you to die when you get teleported, and possibly even soft lock, forcing you to restart the level. But once you're standing on the proper wall, I like to look straight down and line up my Spitfire sight with the intersecting lines on the ground below, though I don't think your position is that important. And finally, once the screen goes dark, this indicates you're about to be teleported to the copy. So double jump and crouch as it goes dark to preemptively build up a little bit of downward speed into the end level trigger. And that's going to be it for Abyss 2. As you can probably tell, the Abyss mission isn't the most exciting at the beginner level, though Chapter 3 fortunately gets a little bit more interesting. So see you there. Before we get into the meat of this segment, I just want to mention you'll want to replace your Spitfire with the EPG while waiting for the assembly line. It can be found over on the left side near the ledge before moving up to all the enemies. This gun has no use on this level, but it can be somewhat useful on the next level, so we're just grabbing it in advance. Moving on though, let's talk about the hardest strats in this level. While Abyss 2 is mostly an auto-scroller, there is a way to save more time at the end through a very difficult route called Railgun. This is a super risky strat not only because of its difficulty, but because the checkpoint loses over a minute, usually killing your run. To set this up though, climb up to the rounded orange joint on the assembly line arm. Just position yourself roughly in the middle of it, it's not precise at all. When the assembly line gets to the really long rail and starts speeding up, wait until the second beam passes overhead and jump up to the joint above and behind you. It's worth noting here that the collision on it is not accurate. The rectangular part sticking out has no collision, only the circular part does, so be careful. But after landing on it, turn around again and jump up to the rail. Do one double jump on the rail so you land around this last suspended wire. Then eat a slide until you slow down to about 220, then double jump into the right side of this rock and tap strafe right. As you're tap strafing, you will simultaneously wall bump off the rock, which will give you another double jump, then use that to tap strafe again to fully course correct yourself back onto the rail. From here, double jump to the rail on the right to avoid this death trigger, then jump again toward the grass wall and trees ahead. Jumping to the side rail can be pretty precise, so I like to use my speed as a reference. In the 150s, I know I need to instantly double jump. In the 140s, slightly later, and so on. If you have a really low amount of speed, about 100 or so, you can back this up by dropping down to the rail below, turning around and bump launching up this corner. Then just climb up and around to the same area with the trees. If you completely lose speed anywhere on the rail, just drop back down to the assembly line and set up for dome launch. There are some weird things that can happen here though. It's possible to die if you smash straight into some of the walls, and it's also possible that you just phase through the geo instead, and you're put into this glitchy movement state. So you want to aim to land on the ground first when dropping down, and if you get the glitchy movement, you just want to try your best to stay on top of it until you can grab any solid surface at the end of the ride, and just climb up to the dome the intended way. Once you've gotten to the tree and used it to stop yourself, turn around and climb up the corner of the wall by alternating jumps between each side. When you're at the top, get behind the blocks sticking out of the wall, and wall jump between each of these two walls repeatedly. Once you get near the top of the block, you can C-fib off and slide hop along this wall of vertical wires, since there's an invisible floor that barely sticks out. And I mean barely, so don't strafe to the left too much. But then wrap all the way around the wall at the end and get ready to latch onto one of the platforms rolling in. So a quick explanation on the platforms. It will move in after a set amount of time after hitting the trigger earlier during this trick. There are multiple cycles that happen with roughly 5 seconds in between each one. How you approach this is going to depend on how fast you did the climb up to the spot. If you were flawless, you can climb up this metal track on the wall and jump on top of or mantle the first platform before it even finishes moving in. Then proceed to jump back up to the catwalk trigger. If you were a little bit slow, you may need to grab the bottom of the platform and have it fling you up to the catwalk. If you were very slow or had to do the backup, you'll have to catch the bottom of a later cycle. This can be a bit awkward because you have to be mindful of the earlier platform that's already there and dodge it. But once you hit the catwalk trigger, it's pretty much the same from here. The only thing is the platforms move around at a different pace here, so you might want to take a moment to get used to that. That's going to wrap up the Biz 2 though. Thanks for watching, and good luck in your practice.